Us singing the Kolchak theme song should be how we start every fucking podcast.
Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two cousins who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Monica.
And as you can tell, I have no makeup on, my hair looks like garbage, and I honestly don't have the energy to care.
I feel like I'd be in the same boat, but I had work, so I came right from work. I had to look nice.
See, I also had work. I did look nice at work, but then I put my hair up.
See, I put my hair up too, but I kept it down. It was just too hot. Your hair still looks nice in a bun.
Not from the front of my head, it doesn't. Anyway, yeah, so, what have we been doing? I've been working a lot.
Me too.
That's all I've been doing. I've done absolutely nothing fun.
I feel like our discussions about how our week has been is going to get slightly more boring now that we're back at work, unless something super exciting happens.
If exciting things happen, like once I actually so I work at a theater and we have a tour. It's like the National Touring House, and so right now we're teching for Frozen. Once Frozen starts and there's cool people around, I'll have things to say. Once school starts and my kids say dumb shit, I'll have things to say. Right now, my work is watching people load props onto the stage or listening to lectures about how to be a good teacher, which it's not exciting.
I have stories, but because the only exciting story that's happened to me at work kind of involves, higher ups, I'm not going to talk about it. Right. But other than that, work's been actually really great. I love my coworkers. I love my job. I love my job. I love my job. And listen, everyone's going to be like, you say that now, and then in 3 weeks you're going to hate it. But I actually really enjoy my coworkers and my managers, and they're all really understanding.
I mean, I'm going to the Bills game on Saturday, so before you guys see this, I'll have gone to the Bills game. What? Stop! Don't touch things.
Sorry.
What the fuck did you do?
I don't know what that was, and I went to try and go put it back, and I want to go back. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to the Bills game on Saturday. That's literally the only thing that's for me that's on my calendar for the next 2 weeks.
I am going to Spirit tomorrow. Oh, and I'm going to talk to my school to officially start going to God school, which I just realized how fucking effed I am when it comes to paying off school loans, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But other than that, not a whole lot going on. Just a lot of getting. Oh, I turn 21 next week. In 5 days from when you guys are listening to this, I'll be turning 21. Which is kind of disgusting, but it's alright.
We will actually be recording a whole other episode before you turn 21.
Yeah. But I can say, hey guys, I'm 21 now. Wish me happy birthday in the comments.
Nobody did shit for my birthday.
Nobody was going to do shit for mine either. No one did for my shit for my birthday last year.
True. Yeah, so that's,
But you want to know what that means? After this, next week's episode, we can start drinking.
That is very dependent on when we record.
True.
Because if we're recording at 8 o'clock at night on a Thursday and I have to teach in the morning, I will not be drinking.
No. And if I have work the next day, no. And if
right now, I'm legally allowed to drink, but it's 8 o'clock at night on a Thursday and I work in the morning, so.
Yeah, no. That's understandable.
And because I work at 8 o'clock in the morning in downtown Buffalo, which means I have to drive during normal rush hour traffic.
You have to get up 2 hours early.
I literally have to leave the house an hour and 15 minutes before work.
Ew, that's rough.
And I have to get gas tomorrow, so.
Ooh, have fun with that. Anyway, I'm so done. This week's episode also made us tired.
Yeah, honestly, here's the thing.
I don't know why David and George like this episode so much, because it's so
Our
bad.
dads were so excited for us to get to this episode. My dad kept being like, how many episodes till you're on the chopper? How many episodes till you're on the chopper? The thing is, I thought it was because they liked the episode. It turns out even when they watched it in the 70s, they thought it was garbage.
So at least you know it's not it's because of the times thing. It just was actually trash back then too.
But I will say,
The acting was good in this episode.
I wasn't even going to say that. It was. But the thing I will say is that the story itself wasn't half bad. It's just that it was timed weird.
Yeah.
And the effects were so bad that I couldn't get into it.
Yeah. And like there were points where I was trying to see past the effects, but like it would just like visually, like not storyline, not acting, like visually would be so bad that you can't take any of the stories as seriously as you'd want to.
Well, and there were even, like, remember, there was an episode early in the series that I can't remember which one, but I was like, if I read this as a book, I would really like it.
I think it was episode 3. Because episode 4 was the aliens.
Episode 3 was the alien.
Was it?
Yeah, episode 4 was the vampire.
Oh,
was
was
it?
it the one beforehand? Not the Ripper.
No.
Wait, not the zombie.
Oh, it was Firefall, I think.
'Cause
Yes,
it
it was
written by,
Firefall because it was written by a novelist. Yeah. So this was another one that I think that if I had seen it in maybe a different medium or even like read it in a book, I would really like the story. I just didn't love the episode.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot like there are some stuff that isn't like need to make sense, but if I'm you can cut this out because I was gonna talk to you about it before we recorded this, and I don't want it to be thrown in there. Talking about this episode because of how, like, do you want to just talk about our thoughts on it and how or you want to still go through scene by scene? Okay.
So this episode, episode 15, Chopper, it was rated 7.6 stars, which is mediocre, and it came out on January 31st, 1975. The description is very brief. A headless motorcyclist is decapitating bikers whom Kolchak discovers were all a part of the same Chopper gang in the 1950s.
Which, yes, that's very straight to the point and actual decent blurb.
Not mad about it.
Not a Netflix blurb.
It was directed by Bruce Kessler. He has about 67 credits. They're mostly like TV one-offs. Basically like every show that existed in the 80s he did an episode of. But he was best known for directing episodes of the Mission Impossible TV show. My favorite. Then we get to the writers. There were 4 writers on this episode. 4. I'm not 100% sure how a 40-minute television episode needs 4 writers. Granted, there were 2 for the story and 2 for the teleplay.
Yeah.
The teleplay, but one of the teleplay writers was named Steve Fisher. He has about 103 credits, tons of TV and film, but like he's best known for the movie Destination Tokyo, which starred Cary Grant.
I have not seen that movie.
I have not either, but Cary Grant.
True.
The other teleplay writer was David Chase, who has written previously 5 episodes of this show, and we've talked about him enough. Then we get to the story. Now this is very confusing to me. The story was written by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis.
Well, I can see from your note who...
Now, Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis are most famous for being the writing team that wrote all of the Back to the Future movies.
They came up... No, the story was good, so I'm not mad about it.
Right.
So, like,
Robert Zemeckis is actually more famous for being a director. Like, he won an Oscar for directing Forrest Gump. Like, he is, like, a director.
Yeah.
But Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis co-wrote all of the Back to the Future movies.
I mean, Back to the Future 3 really isn't that great. But
Actually, I'm pretty sure on Back to the Future 3 they're credited as created by. I don't think they wrote the story.
yeah, because that one...
Yeah. But most recently, Robert Zemeckis wrote, and I only wrote this down because I just like to find ways to talk about random shit. He wrote the script, or the screenplay, for the 2020 film The Witches.
Oh, who was it? The one that came out on Disney, right?
Yeah, or it's so
Or,
you know the book, you know the
I've seen the original
book,
one
but
and
you
another
know the
book.
book, yeah. So they redid it, and Anne Hathaway is
Oh, that's right.
the
Witch.
head witch, yeah. I watched it on the plane on the way home from Thailand. I'm very confused about how I feel about it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Because the thing is, obviously, like it's pretty true to the book. Like the screenplay is good. Robert Zemeckis, there's no fault for me for him. What's her name? Who plays
Mr. Krabs.
Yes. No. She is Octavia Spencer.
Yes.
I was gonna get there, but her name was just not
there.
I love her as the grandma, and like the kids are all really good. But Anne Hathaway makes me uncomfortable in every sense of the word in that movie.
Well, because
like,
she went
her character is supposed to be like her character's supposed to make you uncomfortable. She's the bad guy.
Yeah.
That's not why. Like the overacting and the accent and the prosthetics, like everything about her makes me uncomfortable in a way that I think even if someone else had done the same role, I wouldn't have been weirded out by.
Like, I think it's because Anne Hathaway plays such a vanilla, very sweet, down to earth
I don't think I know that has something to do with it, but I don't think it's that. I think it's that whatever
the way she portrayed that character,
whatever accent she used was so
odd,
bad, not just odd, terrible.
I can't speak. I haven't fucking seen it, but
terrible,
terrible. Just like that joke. Only people who watch the YouTube videos will see that. So, listen, don't watch.
So then, we had 7 guest stars for some reason this episode.
Fuck.
One of them, I still don't know who they are.
Yeah, I don't know. We were trying to name out 5 of them, and we only tried to name out all 7. I think we only got to 5.
I figured out another one. The last one, I still don't know who he was. So first up, we have Larry Linville, who played Captain Jones.
Who was my least favorite police captain we've ever had.
Yeah. He is famous for playing Major Frank Burns in MASH.
Cool.
No. We had Art Matrano, who played Studs. Now, my thing is, I wrote a note that's only funny to me because you'd have to be in my brain for it to be funny, but every time I was trying to talk about Studs, I was saying Stubbs in my brain. Like, I don't know why, but I wanted it to be Stubbs.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, in one episode of 21 Jump Street, he played a character whose name's Stubbs.
Stop. I love that.
Oh, but he's best known for his roles in the Police Academy movies.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we have Sharon Farrell, who played Lila. And would it surprise you if I said that her role that she did the most was in soap operas based on her acting?
Not one single solitary goddamn
so she was in Young and the Restless, but she was also best known for the 80s movie Can't Buy Me Love.
I've never seen that, but I've heard the title before.
So overacting at its finest.
Yep.
Which actually didn't make me mad this episode.
No, because there were parts where her overacting was needed.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, no, because like the last scene when she, right, yeah, right. I love that part. It was it was comical, yeah.
Then we have Frank Aletter. Aletter? I don't know. He played. Well, it's spelled Aletter.
Like a letter.
Yeah, I don't know. Norman. He played Norman Cahill, who was the witness of the first murder, who then went to the psych ward. He has about 121 credits. His thing he's best known for, like, to general audiences, would be the movie Tora Tora Tora. But interestingly enough, his IMDb literally starts with describing him by, if you are someone who only goes to the movies, this man is a complete stranger to you, because he was only in TV. Yeah. Then we had Jay Robinson, who played Professor Eli Strigg, who was the curator of the museum exhibit. That's the one I couldn't figure out who he was at first. He was in the 1992 Dracula movie.
Is that the one is that Bram Stoker's or Winona Ryder? No, that was 80s.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know it was Dracula in 1992.
I'm not sure.
He
Which
didn't
one.
play Dracula, but
No, I by looking at his face, I didn't think he would.
he was also in Days of Our Lives.
He looks more like Grandpa Munster than he did Dracula.
He did not look like Grandpa Munster.
It was not as
His face wasn't round enough.
True. It was the wrinkles in the eyes, and when he would do a weird smile, it was like a creepy, like your weird Uncle Munster, not Grandpa Munster. He's Uncle Munster.
Hate that.
I hate it more.
Then we had Jesse White, who was the security guard at the warehouse, and he had about 183 credits, most known for a movie called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Yeah, 4 Mads. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Nice. Never heard that movie? A lot of Mads. Long title.
And then we have Jim Bacchus.
I'm putting my bets down that Jim Bacchus, the character Hub, is
This is Herb.
Herb. Oh, Herb is the guy who was that doctor dude that he went and talked to
Oh,
at the...
okay.
Yeah.
Didn't remember that at all. He had 252 credits. Most notably, he was in Rebel Without a Cause.
Never seen it. Okay, dude, there's a lot of old TV that I have not seen.
It's not a TV. It's
Or
Rebel
movie.
Without a Cause. It's James Dean.
Yeah, I know the name, but I've never seen it.
I need a new co-host for this podcast. I'll be taking applications at deathandaliens@gmail.com.
No.
Someone who has actually got decent taste in film and movies.
I have decent taste.
What's your favorite movie?
I literally can't pick because there's so many different genres. Like Halloween's my favorite horror movie. Rom-com ish. I like the early 2000s. Like I love Devil Wears Prada. Like I love it a little too much. Thrillers. Inception is really good. I like Shutter Island. That's a really good fucking movie.
That one I will give you that one.
And then musical. Then there's subgenres to this genre, like a horror musical, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like that's close to number one for me.
Rocky Horror Picture Show is not even a horror musical. Let's be honest.
It's a comedy musical. It's a sex musical with horror. One person dies in it. And
yeah,
well, no,
one person dies in The Lion King too, and you wouldn't call that a horror movie.
No, I'm kidding. One person dies, but then at the very end, 2 people die.
Right.
3 people, just kidding. But it's not enough to be a horror movie. And then, well, if we're saying that, then Michael Myers Halloween, the first one, would also not be enough to
Yes,
be a horror
but
movie.
that has suspense and a villain
True.
and like actual horror elements.
This is like a horror
whereas,
comedy. I would.
yeah, a horror comedy maybe, but honestly, like really, that making it a horror comedy would require Dr. Frankenfurter to be a horror villain, which he is not.
He's a Disney princess because it's supposed to be getting put on Disney Plus. It's getting put because they're making an adult section on Disney Plus, and it's gonna be on there.
Do you know what else is going to be on Disney Plus next in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
What?
Pepper Ann. You don't know what that is?
I
do you?
don't. I was like, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna let it go off.
Pray for me, please.
And while you pray, let's also pray for how terrible the visuals were in this episode.
So the episode starts with Kolchak talking to himself.
In a
as
very
per
long,
usual.
cold open, by the way.
The cold open, so long.
It was at least 3 minutes long when they're normally like a minute, maybe a minute and a half if we're pushing it, just for context
I
purposes.
literally have 4 notes before the title came on the screen.
Yeah. Because you literally were on and go like, oh wait, no, I didn't even look at the screen when I saw the names.
Yeah,
pop
I
up.
was, okay, so when I was on IMDb before we watched the episode the second time, I was getting the list of all the guest stars, and usually, I just go until I hit Jack Grimmage, who plays Ron, and when I get to him, that's when I stop, because he's the first of the regular cast, who's not, because obviously
Tony
and Kolchak are up high, and then Ron and Emily are secondary cast, and so guest stars are everybody between Tony and Ron. There were 7 people, and I was like, there can't be 7 guest stars in this episode. Like, that's ridiculous. But I was like, okay, I'll just write them all down, and then I'll pay attention when the credits come on and see if they're all actually there, and then, like, only read the ones that are actually guest stars. So I was purposely paying attention to the credits. And then like 12 minutes into the episode, we got credits.
Yeah.
But so Kolchak is talking about this thing. I keep moving out of the frame of the camera because I'm so hot. Kolchak is talking about this cemetery that was sold to a developer who's going to build condos, and that's how the bodies got moved and this whole ordeal starts.
And by the way, those condos can be some haunted motherfucking places.
I literally wrote, can you even sell a cemetery?
I don't think it's sacred ground. If cemeteries are sacred ground, they're owned by the church.
Right, but not all cemeteries are owned by churches. You can have municipal or city cemeteries.
Oh, true.
But like, what? Do people just sell cemeteries?
If they do, y'all fucked. Like you're like that's fucked. You're
Like, okay,
disturbing
I get it. Like, maybe you're not super superstitious and you believe that, like, a cemetery is just a place where things
People
die.
remember
and,
the dead.
Like, bodies go down and you just remember the dead and everything turns back into
Darkness.
organic matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But also, so if you're of that mindset, then you probably don't think you're doing anything, like, super, like, ethically wrong. But also, like, it's still kind of fucked because what about the people who wanted to go visit their loved ones and you're just, like, building a condo on top of their tombstones? So, like, that's fucked. But also, if you don't believe in that and you do believe that there's any kind of, not necessarily ghosts, but, like, any kind of resonance with a dead body, you're fucked.
Yeah. That's a no-no zone waiting at any person who... First of all, have you seen fucking American Horror Story?
No.
I know you haven't, but hopefully the people watching this at least have. They're on a fucking Death and Aliens horror podcast, sci-fi podcast, so you have to have some commonality there. So if you have seen American Horror Story, you know what fucking happens.
But, like, even if you haven't seen American Horror Story, have you ever, like, seen anything that's like, oh shit, this used to be an Indian burial ground and look at how fucked we all are now?
True. That's also very true.
So... Still in the cold open, we go to this old lady's house where the motorcycle is getting broken out, and my note says, same Mrs. Old Lady, because they were like, this old lady, blah, 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 something about a chronic insomniac, and I was like, yo, me too.
Feel that in my bones.
And then it was like, the one time she finally fell asleep, she got woken up by her garage being broken into, and I was like, destroy my life. If I actually got sleep, some shit would go down.
Now, this is, like, some of the worst visual effects I think this show has done. Because they show, like, they had to have done a clip. First of all, the biker headless outfit thing.
It's very obvious that there is a man hiding under a fake, like, neck bone.
Yeah. And, so it looks like he has, like, a 10-foot long fucking torso. Secondly, the nub looks like a broomstick. Third of all,
the nub I didn't hate as much.
But it just reminded me of a broomstick. It just looked like a little broomstick. I guess because he was a skeleton.
Yeah, it was just... But I have questions about that later.
It looked like his hands were human, because they fucking were. But he had a skeleton nub without any, like, meat or, like, you know, human around it.
I don't think his hands looked superhuman. Because they were just gloves.
True.
Oh my god. You missed it.
What? I'm so sorry, but this little mannequin distracted us. It's a fucking motorcycle. I'm so sorry. It took me to the second watch to realize, like, oh, it's actually a skeleton the whole time. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Not a person. And then, so like, it made more sense, but I just hated the nub.
Yeah, so he steals this motorcycle and breaks out of the garage. And you have this almost interesting, like visual, like, melt layer kind of camera work where it's breaking through the garage and you can tell it's a ghost and a spirit and it's not really there, except that he's then a physical entity for the entire rest of the episode.
Exactly, and like
the thing is, I actually didn't hate that shot other than how weird the actual headless motorcycle rider looked, except that then it was the only time that he appeared as a specter for the whole episode.
Exactly, and unless the motorcycle is what gave him his power back to be full apparition, maybe, but that's just me coming up with excuses for the show, like I always do.
There's no excuse.
And so he has left physical damage to people, to surrounding areas. Yet when he rides through the garage door on a motorcycle
and breaks open the motorcycle,
Cycle.
or maybe breaks open the garage door, the
And
next shot is the garage not broken.
yeah. And clearly they have this stunt actor go through this garage door.
Which, again, if he was supposed to be a Spectre type ghost the whole time without,
It would have been fine.
It would have been a great shot because I actually liked the blur image that they did.
And that would have meant he wouldn't be able to cause physical damage to other inanimate objects around
But
him.
also he stole a motorcycle and the motorcycle was actually missing.
Yes. So we have a dilemma because that is solid matter and that still would have gone through a fucking garage door without it being open. So,
Then in some more confusing physics, the motorcycle guy goes to find this other guy who was part of a motorcycle gang who he's trying to kill, whatever. The story is very convoluted to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, once we get information, it all makes sense.
but
It's just because we're still in the cold open.
Yeah.
So he goes to get this other guy, and he's chasing him around, and I had some serious problems. Because the motorcycle guy hits him in the back with his samurai sword, and he falls over, but he's not hurt. And then he's running away, and then he gets hit again, and we have this horrific, weird sound visual effect
Now,
thing.
and with every, no, that was in the second one, second freeze frame type thing. But we have this freeze frame, which would have been cool.
The freeze frame with the
scene ended.
sound. Okay, so basically, you hear this really sharp, nasty sound of the sword cutting and hitting the car, and then it's the freeze frame, it's the freeze frame. The sound of the sword hitting the car. Norman Cahill's reaction.
Then back to the freeze
To the freeze frame, which if they would have just not gone back to the freeze frame,
frame?
it would have been amazing.
And if they literally would have ended the scene with his reaction, because the next scene just picks up
with
all
Kolchak on his way there. So it would have been fine. But this is my problem. Other than that.
Yeah.
Later, we find out from the Herb, the morgue guy, and Kolchak, that the physical damage done to Joe wasn't possible. And that there's some kind of superhuman strength involved in this motorcycle guy.
Because if he was wearing a bulletproof vest and it was cut to shreds and he was sliced in half with an incision better than some doctors, like as Herb said, some doctors can perform.
But my problem isn't that. Fine, superhuman strength, you can do whatever the fuck you want. How did he hit him the first time and it didn't hurt him?
Yeah.
And then the second time it was so strong that it couldn't have been humanly possible.
Things don't... if I'm being honest with you, I feel like he wasn't... I feel like that was a goof up on the cast.
Right, no, here's the thing.
Not in the
Here's
story.
The thing. I have a lot of issues with this episode, and I don't think that there are things that can't be answered. The way sometimes you have like a plot hole that you're like, ha. I think that there are just genuinely too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
There's so many people writing it. So many different people wrote it, that like, I feel like things just kind of got
Melded.
mixed up.
Like, maybe the actor thought, oh, this is where I go down, but then realized the scene still had to go on for another 30 minutes, so he's like, oh, I'm gonna play it off and pretend like I tripped or something.
And like, back to that one time when we were talking about they probably just didn't like fix mistakes as much because of the price of film. I think that there were just... Sorry, oh my god. I think that there were just a lot of little goofs that were too expensive to fix, and the audience at the time wasn't looking at it with the critical lens that we are looking at it.
Because honestly, if the first time I watched it,
the first time I watched it, I did not even think about the fact that he could not have gotten killed the first second time if he didn't get hurt at all the first time. But then the second time I was watching it, I was like, these don't fit.
Yeah, like literally, you can't explain it away. So that's why I think it probably was a cast error, not a.
I don't necessarily know that it was a cast error so much as it was just it slipped through the cracks.
Yeah.
Of somebody. So then we finally get the credits and Kolchak arrives on the scene, and we meet
the most douchiest officer I think I've ever met.
He's the worst. And he was like, Kolchak, why do you have the right to, who gave you the right to be here? And Kolchak goes on this whole speech about the founding fathers and the like unfettered press, and I was literally crying. I was like, this is the best speech I've ever heard in my life.
The founding fathers of this great republic who set forth some 200 years ago in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so that the people of the United States could have a free, open, and unfettered press. So spare me.
I'm obsessed with Kolchak. That is the best line of dialogue I've ever heard. Oh, a free, fair, and unfettered press. Couldn't be. Couldn't be.
He's like, you are breaking the First and Fourth Amendment.
And then we have realized that Kolchak has 100% played dumb like a fucking pro. There's a lot of con artists in this episode, let me tell you. Because Kolchak, when he realized who the captain on the job was, took the film out of his camera. Mm-hmm. And then when the captain was like, give me your film, he was like, oh my god, I forgot to load it. I'm so old and dumb. How did this happen?
And then he goes, ha, you don't even know that you're your own worst enemy. He's like, shut the fuck up, bitch. I'm so smart. You stupid.
And then he laughs in Kolchak's face when Kolchak's car gets towed.
Which the irony.
But my favorite is actually that when Kolchak's car gets towed, he chases after it and actually catches up to the tow truck. I was mad impressed by that.
That's what happens when you're filming on the studio plot street.
Yeah, so then Kolchak, I think my notes don't make a lot of sense, but no, was the next scene when he went to go research the motorcycle?
Yeah. Okay. There was like,
was there something in between? Because I don't have a note in between this.
You have it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I thought it was the team with, but then you had that.
Okay. No. So he goes to that. So he goes to this motorcycle dealer to get information on the tire tracks that were left at the scene, and it's like a pretty unnecessarily long scene between these guys.
Just for some exposition.
And you do find out, but the problem is you do find out a lot about the motorcycle, and it's the first time you hear the biker gangs mentioned and everything, and it's not
helpful.
The worst scene,
but it drags on very long.
But not only does it drag on very long, it gets really, really weird. I don't know if you caught this.
No, I went to the bathroom, so I was like, oh, this is the
the second time you went to the bathroom. I don't know if you caught this the first time. But when the old guy is talking, he's talking about this one type of motorcycle that is a Japanese brand of motorcycle. Mm-hmm. And he gets really, really weird and starts talking about how it's the same brand that made the planes that shot him out of the air when he was in World War II, and starts talking about how he couldn't walk and he was at the VA for a year. And like, it gets like really intense out of nowhere.
Yeah, no.
With no consequence for the rest of the episode.
Oh my god, he trauma dumped.
He trauma dumped
on Kolchak.
Yeah. I was like, my note says, I'm so uncomfortable. Why would they put this World War II story in here? There's no...
Especially, Vietnam was just about to be ending. It's 1975. It did...
Yeah.
It ends in
April 1975. This is the end of January 1975. I was so uncomfortable.
That's one, but also people that at the time it was like PTSD was like a real thing, but not a real thing.
Right? No, and I got that, and I get
people
that.
Probably were like not aware of it.
Okay, if we were talking about a conversation that actually happened between two adult men in 1975, and it was awkward and uncomfortable and trauma dumpy, I would be like, oh, that's so sad. Mm-hmm. This was a scripted program.
Yeah.
Someone chose to put that story in that moment for no reason.
Writers trauma dumped. No, because none
of them were old enough to have been in World War II.
That's just really weird.
It was the most uncomfortable I've ever been watching the show.
Yeah.
It was more uncomfortable than Anne Hathaway's accent in The Witches.
Ooh. Well, I've never seen The Witches, so I don't know what that tells me about The Witches, but at least it won't be as bad as that.
Maybe I did. I did skip a scene. We did miss a scene. It was in the autopsy room, or morgue, or whatever the fuck place it was.
Where we found out that he was like sliced perfectly.
Yeah, other than that, we learned pretty much nothing. And
Besides, this man wears a toupee.
yeah, this guy wears a toupee but reads magazines about organic hair care. And sorry, that was weird. But yeah, and Kolchak and him got into a fight, and it was not funny.
Yeah, not really.
Oh wait, there was one really funny line.
Oh, when
I was
he-
cracking up. What was it? Clearly wasn't that funny. I forgot it. So then the motorcycle headless man thing goes after Studs, our next victim, and
I mean, okay, listen. What happened in the very first opening scene with the cold open? The headless motorcyclist was driving around a filled taxi
Parking garage.
and going in circles and trying to kill this dude and being very adamant about it. Now, Stubbs is in a wide open range with a road right down it
and
on a
may
light pole.
potentially have been run over by the motorcycle.
And yet, well, we'll explain.
Well, so he comes at him and he cuts the light pole, which, first of all, the cut that is left on the light pole is not congruent with what we've learned about
human strength.
what his strength is capable
He should have been
of
able
doing.
to cut that light post down.
Maybe
with
not
one-
even cut the light post, but it should have looked like more than a scratch.
Yeah, it should look more like a little kid playing with a stick in the backyard and whacking the tree.
Right.
That's what it
and then
really
also
looked
he
like.
quit.
Yeah, he literally tried one slice, realized, he climbed up that light post. Mind you, it was like maybe 2 feet off the ground. If he would have moved his sword slightly up further, he would have been able to at least get his leg and get him down.
Which, here's the thing. I kind of get that part.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole thing is that he's, like, seeking revenge. And so he's basically, like, doing the same motion with his sword as they did to his head.
Okay.
So, like, I kind of get that. But also just keep knocking the pole down over and over and over again, and he'll fall down and die.
Yeah. But he clearly don't give a fuck about that.
Then, we were talking at this moment, while confused, about how we didn't think that there was a B plot in this episode. But there is. Tony's ulcer is the B plot of this episode.
It's like 2 scenes. It's purely a comic relief scene, and for Kolchak to explain what's been going on while Tony's been gone.
It's like exposition, but actually done in a comedic way. Like, I didn't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite is when Tony says, "Whip it on me," like the kids say.
And mind you, Kolchak whips it on him. He tells him what he wants to, and then of course, in normal Tony fashion, he's like, but first of all, Tony was liking the lead so far because it was sounding like a scandal. And then Kolchak goes, but no, it actually did happen on a motorcycle with a sword, because of superhuman strength. And then Tony's like, I'm gonna down the rest of my fucking prescribed medication.
It was like milk of magnesium or something crazy like that. Also, I had a thought while watching this scene and their interaction, and it made me look something up. What would you describe Tony and Carl's relationship as?
Father and son. Or older brother, younger brother.
Simon Oakland is only 7 years older than Darren McGavin, but he fully acts like his father.
Yeah.
I was like, I had to
He
look it
does.
up because I was like, he acts like a dad.
You want to know what the relationship is? Because you made the whole Carl and Emily scenes sad for me for the rest of this fucking series. Tony is the older brother who takes care of Kolchak, even though they're still close in age, because the dad abandoned him, and then the oldest brother had to take on the role of the father for the youngest brother. It's because he fathers him, but yet they're so close in age.
I don't think that that's
I
a
think
fathering out of like caring. I think that's just a Tony is so fucking type A. He fathers everyone.
But the thing is, he genuinely does care for Kolchak, and that's why Kolchak will always call him, like, old man, old this, because they're so close in age that he's, like, ripping on him, like, yeah, I might be 7 years younger than you, but you're so older than me.
we don't know
bitch."
how old the characters are supposed to be.
Fair.
The actors are only 7 years apart, but
Fair.
and then of course my next note just says Emily and Carl with a heart.
Yeah, because every moment with them is precious, and he always calls her beautiful and sweetie and heart love, like, the love of his life, when she finds information for him, because she enables Kolchak 100%. Oh my god, oh my god. Wait. Tony is the strict dad who says no. Emily is the mom who goes, oh, honey, we just stop. There you go, honey. You go have fun. She's like, it's like, yes, you asked dad, but then you ask mom, and mom says yes.
Except that Tony's also still her boss.
True, but does Tony yell at Emily ever?
No.
Exactly.
So then Carl goes to the psych ward to find. Oh, because the guy who witnessed the first murder, the police have decided that clearly he's lost his goddamn mind for thinking that there's a headless motorcycle guy riding around, so they lock him in a psych ward. So Carl goes to the psych ward to talk to him. And my next note says, what a smooth piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because he comes in and he woos the shit out of this nurse to let him into the psych ward. Mm-hmm. And once we are inside the room in the psych ward, we meet my favorite character.
Which is,
the crazy man who thinks
I forgot about
everything is both spiders and his wife.
He's like, hey, be careful, that spider is gonna fall on your head. Then he loses his shit. And he goes,
he said,
that wasn't no spider.
And he said, that was no spider, that was my wife.
I was like, what the fuck? But then Kolchak, like, didn't bat an eye.
He
was like, oh yeah, I could see why that's funny. And then the other guy, when Carl walks in, he goes, hey, Uncle, like, Nate Remus, where have you been? He's like, oh, I'm so sorry, nephew. I would have been here sooner if I'd known. And I was like, Kolchak just like kind of fits the vibe here, I guess.
And then, so then, what's his name?
Norman
goes, I'm as sane as you are, and I wrote, how sane is Carl really, though?
Yeah. Carl definitely has a little bit of some screws loose. But hey, you know what? With all his loose screw moments, they're always backed up by facts. So, you know what? I can't say that he's crazy. He's just
and then
censored.
the nurse comes back in after she's realized that Carl conned her, and,
she goes, Mr. Van Gogh, go. Because mind you, Carl says that his last name's Van Gogh and goes like, oh, but in no relation to the artist. You see, I have no ear deficiency.
But as she's trying to kick Kolchak out, Spider-Man is yelling about his wife still. Mm-hmm. And
you stepped on my wife!
The look on her face, I literally wrote me every time I need to try to fit in public.
Yeah, she's like, bye. And then she just leaves.
Yeah.
With that big smile on her face.
She's like, I want to kill myself.
Oh my god.
And then Carl, upgrades from Conman level 100 to Conman level 6 billion. When he goes to the police station.
Oh my god.
And makes up a fake story about Joe being from rich people, like, and from money.
Basically like an oilmonger's child.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, he's part of the Morton Holding Company and blah, 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 and, like, he's worth a lot of money, and, like, his parents are gonna be so mad. And makes this whole fucking story up. Just to get info from the cops.
Which, honestly, I love that. I'm like, yeah, you fucking play this bitch. You said, Kolchak, you're your own worst enemy. Bitch, he's playing you like a goddamn
And
fiddle.
then my favorite was as Kolchak was leaving, and he was like, I don't miss much. And Carl goes, you sure don't. Then Carl goes to Joe's funeral, where,
which, might I add, like, I understand why, and she didn't seem, well, she was upset, but, like, and also played it off because he was asking questions they probably shouldn't have been asking. But no one batted an eye that a reporter came and talked to a woman at her husband's funeral.
Oh, no, everyone was batting an eye. That was the judgiest.
I thought it was because of Stubbs.
But those were the judgiest people.
Stubbs? What the fuck's his name? Studs.
That was the judgiest group of people in a funeral I've ever seen. But also, she was starting to get real ticked off because Studs and his friends were acting like fucking assholes. Yeah. And I literally was like, I would be pissed if this was my husband's funeral too. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite was, like, Studs was trying to play it cool and, like, not tell the reporter stuff, and then his friends just kept, like, saying shit that they should not have said. And I was like, when your new friends see you doing some old shit that, like, they're not supposed to know about, and they, like, rat you out because they think that they're being funny, but, like, really they don't know that you fucking murdered someone.
Yeah.
So then Studs and his friends leave, and he goes to talk to Lila, and I wrote, this lady is a grade A drama queen.
Yes, and then we find out that she was literally just playing it up.
Oh my god, it was amazing. It was amazing.
So they're turning to Mary Kate.
Usually when women are, like, super uncomfortably melodramatic on the show, I'm like, oof. But this time, even before I knew she was faking it, I don't know why, but I was loving it.
Yeah, because honestly, it's like she sold it. Like, if she was going to be hysterical, she went fucking all in and, like, made it work, because it's like her character is almost that like off the wall that it honestly fits
Oh,
the
yeah.
character.
Yeah.
And that was shown very quickly. And I think this is the first time I've seen a writer on the show actually do a good job at writing a female character.
It's amazing.
So,
Other than Miss Emily, obviously.
yes, other than someone.
So then Kolchak goes from the funeral home to follow Studs to the warehouse. And
Kolchak sees some shit.
the security guard and Studs get into a fight, basically, and the security guard tries to, like, shoot Studs, and Studs scares him.
He's like, oh yeah, you're gonna shoot me, old man? And I don't really know where he, like, slapped the gun out of his hand, then he kind of just disappeared.
Yeah, it was the worst security guard I've ever seen in my life. And then the
Have this...
this motorcycle guy shows up and once again doesn't kill Studs.
No.
Like, how many times is this man gonna get out of this?
And Studs was the one
Especially
that
when
actually
he's the one who
like,
actually-
killed
yeah.
him. I was like, wow, you really don't have vengeance out for the actual person who fucking killed you.
Right. So then Carl goes back to the office and is being super annoying, and apparently Carl and Ron and Emily's existence are just too much for Tony because they don't even say anything to him.
Yeah.
He's just looking around the office and decides
Well,
not.
it's also because they're eating actual human food and he has to eat, like, basically birdseed.
And so
So I think that was the start of it.
so he calls down and orders, like, real food and fancy food, and then Kolchak's, like, trying to tell him that he doesn't know what's going on, and then Emily, like, chimes in about how there's this guillotine exhibit, and, like, of course Emily would know when the museum has a guillotine exhibit.
Because this Emily does the snoop work for Carl.
Yeah. And then Tony just loses his shit, and he says that this is not even a place of business, it's occupational therapy for a bunch of losers, and I
I was like, why is that my actual job?
could not.
Oh, God.
So then Carl goes to the guillotine exhibit to talk to this man.
This is the guy that I said looked like Eddie Munster or Grandpa Uncle Munster. He looks like
But
Uncle
so this
Munster.
guy, he is talking about the French Revolution and everything.
Can I just say my favorite line real quick?
Sure.
He turns to Kolchak and he goes, because Kolchak's like, oh, that sounds spooky. He goes, the French Revolution isn't spooky. They just decapitated all these people, then turned the swords on themselves and killed 1,000 more. I'm like, maybe that's not spooky, but that's morbid as fuck.
But here's my favorite part about that situation is he was talking very encouragingly about these people decapitating or
Like, he was
the
like they were right.
aristocracy. Like, but specifically the aristocracy and, like, rich people, while literally carrying himself in the most foppish manner I have ever seen. I was like, you don't get to walk around like a straight fop and complain and praise people for killing the aristocracy. I was like, the irony.
That's like someone walking around. No, I'm not going to say it because it was going in. I don't want to make a World War II joke right now after the World War II trauma dumping.
Yeah, let's not. My actual favorite line was when he explained the myth of what happens to your head if your head and body are separated, and Kolchak was like, oh, like luggage at the airport.
Yeah, it's like when you send your luggage to the wrong airport.
God. There was a lot of, like, grade A jokes.
And it's a really common.
But
But also, we're dealing with the writers from freaking Back to the Future.
Right. Like, the thing is, there were some grade A jokes. It was just that the pacing of the scenes that were funny were so slow that, like, the 3 or 4 really good jokes didn't make up for the 10 minutes I lost watching that scene. Then we have...
Makes so good? Yeah. Okay.
Then we have another death. This time, I think it was Lila's sister.
It probably was.
Because
they never named
No,
who
they
this was.
absolutely named who she was. In Carl's narration dialogue, he 100% says what happened, and both times I watched it, I missed everything he said. Now, granted, to be fair, it's because I can't get the subtitles to work on the DVD,
And it is really
100 degrees in my house, which means that there are fans on that make it impossible for me to hear the TV.
Yeah, it's really hard to hear it because it's already a quiet show.
Yeah, it's already sound mixed in a way that you can tell it's from the 70s. I can't get the subtitles to work, and I have a fan blowing in my ear.
Yeah, because you are right next to the fan today. It's hot here.
Yeah. As you can see by the fact that, like, I look like I literally am a corpse.
See, like, this is my highlight. This is my sweat. If you're watching it,
I have nothing on my face, and I'm the same color as you. You have highlight on.
Yeah. That's why you don't say it sounds sweaty. So I put highlighter all over my body.
I already told them I have nothing on.
Oh. You play it off.
So then Kolchak goes to Lila's house.
Which this is one of my this scene is actually all super funny. She did a really good job like being over dramatic and she's throwing her clothes to like leave town.
She's like, get out of here! Get out!
I wonder if the reason why I think she's so comical is because in a really weird way she sounds like Harley Quinn, but not. The way she like enunciates her words and how like over the top she is.
That accent, yeah.
That just seems normal.
But also she's like, the good old days, talking about secretly burying their dead friends.
Yeah, it's like, like in the good old days when you would do that. I'm like, and Kolchak's like, yeah.
Those were some kind of days.
Those were the fucking days. Those are the fuck. I miss the days when I could carry around people's decapitated heads in clear jars for funsies.
And then, of course, the police show up.
And he's like, Kolchak, what are you doing here? Filling this girl with some morbid mumbo jumbo?
Yeah,
he's
I
like,
know. Literally, they come to her and there's somebody recreating biker murders, and it's definitely drug induced. And I was like, why is everything drugs?
Yeah.
Why, when there was a murderer, do you assume drugs?
Because it was the 70s and God forbid mental health.
Granted, if someone was riding around on a motorcycle with their head under their shirt and stabbing people with samurai swords, I would probably assume drugs also.
I just got like a real life image, but it wasn't like in a shirt like that. I just pictured someone like this, just going, and just going, they blindly like waving their hand.
One hand on the bike,
One
and
hand on
the
the
other
bike.
hand like with a
He's
sword.
like, I'm gonna fucking kill you like that.
I apologize to everyone who just had to witness what we just did.
No, I apologize to people who had to hear that madness and not see what happened.
I also think that I might, because of how deep the cuts on my shirt are, I might have just shown everyone on the internet my entire bra.
Hey, at least you know it can go on OnlyFans.
Because it's tasteful nudity.
Exactly.
Actually, it wasn't nudity at all.
It was just tasteful. It was suggestive.
Yes. Which is
Allowed.
still allowed on OnlyFans.
Just don't put a dick in your vagina on OnlyFans. You'll be great. Get that coin, sis. Anyway, my favorite part is when Kolchak was talking to the police officer. He's like, is this dude filling your head with mumbo jumbo? He's like, no, I'm telling the straight facts. And he explains basically the whole episode all over again. And he's like, isn't that right? And she's like, yeah, it is. And I was like, did someone disagree with Kolchak in front of
agree with Kolchak in front of the police, and the police response were to throw around their badges. And Carl said, you are not even fit to be captain of the Rockettes.
I'm like, yeah, he has a penis, duh.
Legs way too short.
I mean, a lot of people aren't.
Right.
But,
Legs too short.
yep. Also, penis. So. Wait, do they have male Rockettes now?
No.
They still don't?
I mean, they have male dancers that work with the Rockette company, but you're not even their background dancers. Unless you're a chorus girl, you're not called Rockette.
Oh, yeah.
Like they have, like when you have like the Radio City Christmas Spectacular, there's multiple dance companies involved in that, but the Rockettes are specifically those girls.
Okay. I remember I always wanted to be a Rockette.
Too short.
Yeah.
I mean, among other things.
I would always practice my high kicks when I was a kid after I went and saw them once. That's why I started to take ballet, so I could stretch my legs out to kick that high.
That was so funny.
I wanted to be a Rockette.
I took ballet because I was trying to correct being pigeon-toed. It didn't work.
Yeah. And so then the big climactic scene goes. Kolchak goes back to the warehouse with his
and he drops a pallet, and the security guard calls the owner and is like, yeah, I'm done. I don't care about the extra money. And my note says, I too would quit my job.
Yep, I would have quit when the fucking first person got attacked there. And so he ended up, going there trying to find the head, which miraculously the first canister he looked in had a fucking head when there was like also 6 other canisters in that vicinity. Magic. And he walked away with it before opening it and then checked for the head. And the head was in there after he had walked away. Which I'm like, that's convenient, or you would have just had to walk back.
Now my question about this head, and this is a genuine question, but I might also be judging a little bit.
Like, what was it made of?
No. How long does it take the flesh to fully
He died 10 years before.
He died 19 years before then. So
It would be more.
wouldn't there still be some kind of rotting
Yeah.
flesh on it? It wouldn't be like Spirit Halloween store
No,
skeleton.
It wouldn't.
Okay, that was my question. I was like, I might be wrong on the decomposition
No, you're
rate.
really right. You're 100% correct on that. Because like even if it was wrapped up in a canister and someone was keeping it safe in a jar and not exposed to the natural elements, it would have been way more rotted, and there would be a lot more skin on it than it being exposed to the natural.
Yeah, but even so, it got put back in the coffin 19 years ago. So even if it was in a coffin
True.
for 19 years, there is nothing. It's like literally Spirit Halloween store
decorations.
skeleton.
And so no, there would have been something on
Okay,
it.
I was not wrong.
And I noticed that, but I'm like, I'm not gonna nitpick because I already know what this fucking skeleton rider dude looks like, so I'm not even gonna question it because clearly we're lacking.
I was like, am I wrong? Or
No,
is
you're
that-
right.
Okay.
And then, so obviously the motorcycle's like, oh my god, you got my head, and he's like, whoa, I had nothing to do with this. Well, then the motorcycle, Kolchak jumps out of the way, motorcycle comes back, goes back, and then turns around to look at Kolchak, and Kolchak takes the head out of the canister and just fucking chucks it at the motorcyclist. He falls off, but before he falls off, the skull looks like it bounces right back to Kolchak, and he falls over, and then when Kolchak goes over to look at the body, the skull is miraculously put on, and then the scene ends.
And then that's it. We get a voiceover at the end where we find out that, like,
The police chapter, the chief of homicide is now the chief of fucking
of traffic violations, and
he's the one.
Lila and Studs are fine, and there's been no more murders, and the motorcycle guy's at rest now, and it's there's nothing.
Do you want to stop recording this so we can do that, just so we don't run over?
I wasn't gonna, but now I have to because you're talking shit.
I'm sorry. I just because we were at 20, I didn't know how long the goofs are gonna take and the outro, so I didn't want to have to cut that in half. I'm sorry.
We had 38 minutes. We've just been stopping at 25 to be safe.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
But yeah, so it is. I said to my dad after we watched it the first time, I said, Dad, why did you guys like the episode? Like, I need to know because I have never hated an episode so much. That's not true.
Yeah, we definitely have hated more.
But like, I was like, I don't
see the appeal about it.
But which again is not entirely true because I didn't hate
the story.
I
it's
just
the execution.
hated the execution. And my dad was like, even in 1975, we knew that was the worst effects in the world. Like we like they basically like hate watched it.
Yeah, which is like when you watch Twilight, you hate watch it. You love to hate it. You hate to love it.
You love it. Don't.
No, I will talk mad shit about Twilight, but because I'm aware that it's trash. But I do fucking love it. It's a nostalgic comfort movie for me.
So
I just felt a droplet of sweat on my bicep.
our goofs. The headless motorcyclist appears to have stood close to 9 feet tall before being decapitated.
Yep. Once again, I said his torso is about 10 feet long. I wasn't wrong.
Yeah. Kolchak's narration describes Lila's sister Coral, which it was.
Once again, the name Coral. You didn't hear me bitch about this? I bitched about it earlier. Me and Marika had a discussion. Yeah, it's a perfectly fine name, but you just don't hear Coral being a name that often. At least anymore.
Yeah, anymore, but like
it's still a name.
Yeah. But so Lila's sister Carl describes her as a respectable housewife, but she is shown closing and locking up a restaurant just before the motorcyclist kills her. So why isn't she described as a respectable restaurateur? That is just...
because it's the 70s and God forbid a
But
woman
no, but
owned
if you own a restaurant or you're working at a restaurant, you're not a housewife.
Yeah, because you're literally not home to be a wife at the house.
Oh, your favorite. Carl throws the biker's skull at the headless body. It strikes him in the chest and bounces away, but the next shot of the biker's skeleton shows the head connected to the body.
Yes.
At the time of the episode airing, Chicago was still the second most populous city in the United States. The property warehouse for the city and county would have been far larger than the small garage that is the setting of most of the episode.
Nice.
Alright, those are the goofs. Trivia. As Kolchak searches the Cook County warehouse for Baker's body, he finds the name on a tarp that also includes the name Bacchus. Jim Bacchus was a guest star.
Okay.
That's cool. The guillotine at the French Museum, or at the museum's French Revolution display fails to operate properly. The reason being it isn't weighted properly. If you look closely, the rope is simply attached to the blade itself. A true guillotine blade was attached to a mouton and a metal weight which weighed 66 pounds. Combined with the weight of the blade, this ensured a swift, clean cut. If there wasn't something heavy on top of the blade, when it dropped, it would not cut through your skull, like your neck.
Because there's not enough velocity.
Which is why you can tell that was like a prop guillotine, because there's nothing on it.
Yeah.
BSA stands for Birmingham Small Arms Company Limited, which was a leading motorcycle producer internationally.
Nice.
I don't know how this is trivia. It's not even a sentence. It's literally a sentence fragment listed as a piece of trivia. A very auspicious beginning for writer and future director Robert Zemeckis. That's it. That's all it says.
That's because he did this before he did Back to the Future.
Which is great. This episode, but here's the thing.
Word it differently.
This episode was a very auspicious beginning. Now it's a sentence.
Yes.
A very auspicious beginning for writer and future director Robert Zemeckis. This episode still fucking sucked. Now it's a sentence.
Yeah.
The phrase of the times that Tony tries to utilize is "lay it on me," not "whip it on me."
Whip
it on me. I'm gonna start saying that in my classroom and see if the kids just think I'm fucking weird.
Whip it on me, and they're
They'll be
like,
like,
what the fuck?
Miss Lodick, I have a question. Whip it on me.
They'll be like, is your spider a wife? But it's had his Satan's butthole here, and
That is 100% true.
And we talked about all the interesting stuff. You heard us bitch and whine about certain things that we didn't like. But all in all, the episode was pretty good. Like,
it wasn't
the
the worst.
story was good. It was entertaining. It was an easy watch. But looking at it at a critical lens, it's going to be different. I don't think this is the worst episode of Cold Shot.
But also, this was episode 15, which means we are a solid 3/4 of the way through the series.
Yeah, we only have 5 more episodes left. Holy fuck! I can't do this whistle thing.
That was the correct notes, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, again, if you would like to replace Monica as my co-host because you've seen decent movies, you can email me at deathandaliens@gmail.com. Also, if you know how to read, that would be a good qualification.
Listen, I sucked at reading comprehension. Don't blame me, blame the jeans. These jeans. No, I took my skirt off. I barely have pants on.
You can follow us on Instagram at deathandaliens. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Actually, that's our Twitter too. I don't know what I'm talking about. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EMKAY_superstar.
You can follow me on Instagram at monica.lynn_, and you can follow me on Twitter at mon_lynn_.
And I am so sorry that this is what happens when it becomes over 100 degrees. Like, we're just not functioning human beings. And maybe one day, if you continue to like, share, subscribe, comment, rate, review, whatever those things you're supposed to do with podcasts, we'll like make enough money to buy ourselves an air-conditioned studio and not have a garbage podcast.
Did I just say I thought you were just going to stop at we can buy ourselves an air conditioner, and I thought that was just going to be the sentence. And I'm like, and I want to shoot for studio, a room, no, just the air conditioner.
I mean, even that would be better at this point. But someplace where we can film this podcast that doesn't make it look like I'm dead.
And also make it sound like we've smoked a shit ton of weed before we've done it either.
Yeah, because I don't know how you are affected by the heat, but I turn into a band.
I turn into a band, but
rambling idiot.
And also, we kind of just laugh at everything because we're so delirious that nothing fucking makes sense. So.
Also, nothing fucking makes sense. And on that note, we will talk to you
next week.
time.